This week on Rockstar Superhero. Feather Mountain is one of the most important bands in the world. They tell stories that penetrate your soul. Their melodies are complex and inviting. The subject matter is human and fully realized. It's really magical stuff, and I have to admit I'm honored to be friends with the band. Over the last 12 months, the guys and I have had a few different chats, and this interview that you're listening to today is actually an amalgam of those conversations. If it sounds a bit disjointed thematically, well, it's only because we edited around the variables as best we could, all while keeping the thrust of the band's story complete. I think you'll agree it's a powerful conversation. This is my interview with Jens, Andreas, Mikkel and Christian of the Danish progressive metal band Feather Mountain, and this is Rockstar Superhero.
I've also been thinking about this interview today, or this talk we're going to have, that it would feel a bit weird if nothing was used from the other conversation, because where should we start today if you weren't able to take stuff from the last time? Should we pretend we haven't met before, or how should we do it? So I think maybe it's just easier if we just go ahead and see what happens, and then you can get the best out of both talks.
The evolution of Feather Mountain into something even more personal and more relatable, and, to be very fair, even more melodic and seductive, I think is really why we're here. We, over the last, say, 12, 13 months, have become close, but what's happened in the middle of that is the documentary, the new recording. And I feel very fortunate as a friend of the band to have heard the album, or most of the album anyway. And I have to say that fans and future fans, because there will be many, are in for a treat, because there is really something special coming. And it is my great honor to have you back. So let's just have a good time and reconnect. And it's nice to finally meet Jens too. So how did you come together as a unit to create this vision of what Feather Mountain is?
We had a lot of influences, but it's mainly because we tend to listen to the people we work with. I have two very good friends who make a lot of movie, and they're very artistic in what they do. And we needed someone to help us out with a music video for our single In Passing.
Yeah.
And we had some vague ideas of what we wanted to do with it and what we pictured with the song. But they took it in a very different direction. They started doing some interview sessions with us as a group, where they took one individual from the band outside the room, and then the rest of the band should talk about that guy.
Really?
And it was such a weird back and forth interview thing, where they really dug deep in who are we as a band and as persons. And they sort of interpreted that and made a video out of it. And we just went with it. We thought it was very appropriate to have this feminine aesthetics, because we tend to dive in both the gentle and aggressive sound and the dreamy soundscape, where we think everything is more powerful if you tend to go both directions.
Yes.
And they helped us do that. They sort of helped us with the vision.
Yeah, I think that it involved a lot of soul searching from our part. Andreas' friends, they had a vision, and they had an idea how to present what we had inside of us, but it was up to us to to really dig deep and go down the rabbit hole and see what defines Feather Mountain, what defines the music. Why do we play music at all in the first place?
If I may, what does Feather Mountain mean? Because when I mentioned the feminine before, and then I saw a lot of your artwork and the website and everything else, there's that feeling of softness. Was that the idea of combining the words to make something that means something soft and something hard?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's you nailed it.
Look at me go.
I had a lot of. I think I was the one that made the name Feather Mountain, and that was like the main idea was to combine something soft and something hard, and I wanted something that you could imagine, something that you could visualize in a way, and I just thought that it really fitted the music, with the softness and the heaviness and the heart and all of that. So spot on.
That makes me happy. I'm glad. I mean, but it proves that it works. It proves that, your logo. I was showing your website to a few of my friends yesterday, and they all commented on the same things, which is interesting. They commented on the flowers and the water. They commented on the logo, and specifically they commented on the color palette, because they said, oh, these colors evoke a certain feeling. And then when I played the music, it coalesced. It made sense to them. It all came together. So it proves that your vision works. It seems to me that Scandinavia, Denmark, you name it, that whole area seems to be a hotbed of progressive music. Why do you think that is? Because I have yet to figure it out. There's so much great stuff coming, from that area. Is that like the sound of choice?
I'm not sure, actually. I think for the metal, I'd say definitely metal scene there's a lot of cool shit happening right now in Denmark. But I'm not sure I agree with the progressive. I guess. What do you think, guys, on the progressive side? I'd say on the metalcore side.
Yeah. Metal. I definitely think metalcore is a big thing in Denmark right now. But I think, Rob, you're right that a lot of Scandinavian bands might have progressive influences in a way, or maybe flirt a little with the progressive side of music. I think that maybe people are. It's not in a how do you say that? Like people are not staying in their boxes or anything. I think that they're mixing it up a bit, but so I think at least the progressive bands in Denmark, I know there are a lot of them, but they are very different to each other. There are lots of ways to play progressive rock and progressive metal, so you can really tell that even though we have like this umbrella above us called progressive, then we tend to grow in all kinds of different directions, and it can still be like an odd booking with two progressive bands, but really stylistically going in opposite directions. Even sometimes it's better to I mean, yesterday we played with a band called Detonate from Denmark, and they play, I don't know, it's very Gojira.
Mastodon and Gojira.
Yeah, Mastodon and Gojira-ish. And that was a perfect fit. They started off and they just played their asses off and gave a really good show. And then we came in with our introvert, feminine, really
melodic
technical stuff. And you could tell all these people who moments before were just headbanging all they could, they suddenly started sitting and grooving and really paying attention to what was going on at stage, but enjoying in a different way. And I think that's a really good fit sometimes, instead of having like two prog bands playing together.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense. And I guess I should apologize and not use the word prog. My brain says anything with odd time signatures sort of falls into the prog category, right? Or sudden extreme changes from something very soft and melodic to something very hard, very heavy, right? Post-hardcore, grind, whatever you want to call it, whatever subgenre, that's all progressive to me. But I'm an old man too. I mean, I'm 55 years old. You know what I mean? I always struggle labeling bands incorrectly, clearly. But I struggle a lot with talking about influences because of two reasons. One, typically I hear what I hear because of bands I grew up with or things that I liked. Or really even, I mean, I don't know, how else can I put this? I want to say this right. I struggle with it because I don't want to offend the audience. I don't want to offend the people that I'm on the phone call with, right? Yeah. But I heard a few things when I started listening to you. And of course, I don't have a big, deep catalog to go back to. So when I listen to In Passing, I hear a little bit of a few things, but the two that stood out for me, and I hope this is not offensive, is one, I heard, a lot of sort of rhythmic Tool type, musical flourishes. I heard certain sort of Toolish aspects of the tones and the heavier parts of the music. But in the vocals, I heard Deftones, and Mikkel's like, I don't know, dude. but Deftones to me, I don't know how familiar you are or how much you've listened to them, but they were a heavy band with these sort of soft, plaintive, light, airy vocals over the top. What really made them stand out. Yes. And even though they still exist, they kind of don't, if that makes sense. Like in popular culture, they've kind of fallen away. Yeah. And they've made a space for a band like you to come out and take that and run with it and make it your own, which you have. I'm not saying that you are heavily influenced by either of these guys, but do you hear a little bit of what I'm asking in there? Do you hear those bands in your music?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. Yeah. All the three of us, we really like Tool and have been listening to Tool forever. And I, at least, I don't know about you guys, but I also really enjoyed Deftones. Yeah. And I totally agree with you on the vocal side of it regarding Deftones, the softness and the harshness and the extreme. Direction in both directions. I totally hear that. So no offense taken. No, none. A lot of people say Tool when they hear us, but we've heard all kinds of last night we were called the Danish Tesseract by some. We've also been called the Danish Linkin Park.
What?
That was a weird one.
Yeah, by one guy at least.
Okay. The Danish Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, Danish Between the Bird and Me, and Danish Agent Fresco. And but it's really important to us not to be the Danish anything, but just to be Feather Mountain. We want to have our own voice, and of course you're standing on the shoulders of giants, and you need influences. You need to listen to music, but I'm not interested in being a bad version of a good band. I want to be the best version of myself and the best version of Feather Mountain. So it's really important to have different influences and listen to
different genres.
Different genres and individually, but also all the four of us, we listen to very different music, and that affects the whole, I think. Yeah. And I really enjoy that. I'm so glad that we don't, all four of us, listen to only one band.
Then you would be derivative. The thing is, I mentioned Tool, but you don't sound anything like Tool.
right? It's what it is you have Tool-isms, if that makes sense. But see, I'm older, as I said before. So what happens is a guy like me, for example, I listened to Radiohead in 1993 before they were anybody. And then Creep became a famous song. And then by 1996, 1997, Radiohead was this alternative juggernaut. They were a big thing and they mattered. People paid attention. Rolling Stone said it's the best album ever. And then in 2000, they completely flipped the band and became something they weren't. And a lot of people like me went, that sucks. I don't want that new thing. God bless them. They can have their new thing because they're artists and that's what they want to do. But as a fan, it was awful. It was an awful moment. I feel the same about Tool. I loved Tool until 1996. Okay. I can't stand Tool anymore. And that's me personally, because it's all just masturbatory. It's I don't need a 27-minute song. I don't need to, you know what I mean? It's like there's no song anymore. It's a journey of ideas and thoughts, which is fine. But when I listen to you guys, I hear the influences and the bits and the pieces and the sparks. But what I hear is the bands I used to love now formed in you. And that is a beautiful thing. You get to carry the torch, man. It's awesome.
Thanks. Thank you so much, man. That means a lot.
Yeah, that's really, really cool thing to hear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I have you on the show, because I'm genuinely excited. Like okay, let me ask you this question. What makes you feel like a little kid again? Because when I hear your music, I get giddy. Like, woohoo!
Well, okay. Can I just ask?
Why is that?
Can I just ask? 96 is that Undertow or
with Tool? Like, what was
that Undertow after or?
No, Undertow's before. Undertow is 93, and then Enema is 96.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And that album, that is the pinnacle of what they were doing. And I mean, I get it. It went to the next step. That's fine, but I'm not interested in, like I said, and I'm a drummer, man. I grew up on Rush and all, the most difficult music I could find, but it bores me. It's like, I don't want to see a 20-minute drum solo either. I want to hear the music. I want to be immersed. I want to be able to sit in the dark and listen to an album on headphones and just say, wow. Just say, wow. And even though I've only heard a few of your pieces, that's what happens to me with what you're doing now. This is why I wanted to have you, because I wanted everybody to go, okay, tell me about this Feather Mountain thing. Because, I discovered you on Instagram, man. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
It's probably all Christian's fault because he friended me, or whatever he did. He followed me. Was that you? I don't know who it was. Yeah.
The main influencer.
Yeah. But it's awesome. So let's go back to that question though. When do you feel like a kid? You're a kid still, but like a little kid.
I can say I feel like a kid when I hear a sweet bass riff from Andreas. Sometimes there's a riff and I can envision the stage, I can envision the lighting, I can envision the crowd.
Really?
And I can hear the band. I know, oh my God, there's something here. That's what I feel like, I think.
Oh man. How about you guys?
I felt like a kid yesterday in that show. All day actually, before being on stage, being really nervous. I thought it was our responsibility to get a crowd going. And it's been a long time since I was that nervous. Being on stage, it was really playful and just me and my best friends going crazy together. And afterwards, getting drunk and getting a lot of praise and getting a lot of lot of good stuff, a lot of good memories. It was like Christmas Eve.
Yeah, a lot of love.
Yeah, lots of love, and really high on the experience, and just being together with the guys at the van afterwards, saying, guys, I mean, this is what we should be doing all the time.
Yeah.
And having all four of us saying, yeah, man, of course. Yeah. That made me feel like very alive and very much like a little kid dreaming.
What I love about the name itself, before we get to the music, is that combination of heaviness and lightness, the masculine and the feminine, and the aesthetics that are associated with it. And the band does it extraordinarily well in its look, but even more importantly, in the music. So to start, or to restart today, let me ask you, how do you, as a quartet, how do you guys write material together? Where's the genesis of a song begin? Is there a traditional process with Feather Mountain in the songwriting?
I think a lot of where this diversity in our music comes from. It comes from the fact that we all listen to different bands and have different influences, and also that we kind of we have quite different roles musically in the band, and we exploit that in the songwriting as well. Mm-hmm. So Christian and Andreas are very groove based, and a lot of the songs start with Andreas having wrote something that is rhythmically way too complex for anyone to comprehend.
Yes.
And then kind of Mikkel and I tone it a bit down, and I have kind of a good ear for harmony and a good understanding of chords and music theory. So I kind of try and add some more complex harmony on top of whatever Andreas brings to the table.
I often think of it as that Jens is like representing order and I'm chaos in the writing process, and we need a bit of both.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think as a drummer from, and again, I'm not in your band, of course, but as a drummer from the outside, I would imagine it's really easy for somebody like myself to listen to the band because of the rhythmic changes, the complexity of the pieces, and it's exciting as somebody who's in the rhythm space. But what I find as a listener is the joy of melody and harmony, and specifically, actually, Mikkel's legato approach to singing. I love the long, lilting notes. Your delivery is just gorgeous. And so the band as a whole has definitely created a tone that really isn't easy to explain, because you don't sound really like anyone else. You can hear a little bit of your influences in there, as you mentioned, Jens, but you just sound like Feather Mountain.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I think for like my part, often when I get the skeletal, the rhythm structure, that can usually be, like the boys said, chaotic. I like the repetitive melody stuff. I like trying to come up with the repetitive nature of something that sounds good and where to fit it in the parts, because it can often get crazy. So
yeah. Well, you did it incredibly well on Sincere. So, one of the newest pieces of material, certainly the newest to, I say, the world at large, is that song and that video for Sincere, which is on this new album. To Exit a Maelstrom, correct, is the title of right? Which I would love to get to the meaning behind that. I feel like I know the meaning behind that, but I feel like it's still important to talk to. But yeah, Sincere is a gorgeous example of what you're talking about, Mikkel. there isn't so much rhythmic complexity in that piece as there is tonal dissonance at times that creates that drama. And Christian's blast beats because it's the first time. Look, I'm going to tell you, I'm a drummer, Jens. You don't know this, but I can't stand blast beats. I can't stand them. I just
Mikkel
me neither.
I just
None of us.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I understand why they exist in certain songs, but for the most part, it's more about a drummer saying, "Look at me." It's rarely in service to the song, but in sincere, it's the only. And I'm telling you, I'm not blowing smoke. It's the only time I've ever heard a blast beat actually make sense because it's taking us over a cliff. And or it's taking us out, right? That song itself should be called "To Exit a Maelstrom" because it takes you into the middle and then it pushes you back out. And what I love about it is it's a combination of hope and loss, and it leaves us a little confused, and it crushes me. I listened to it 10 times alone yesterday, and I was I have a 31-year-old daughter, and she's sitting next to me on the couch, and I said, I want to play you the song, and she sat there and watched it, and she started crying, and she, not knowing what the song's about, not knowing what the video seems to represent, and I was like, yeah, I know, I cry every time. It's a beautiful thing. So you guys did it, man. I'm talking too much, but you did it. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, that's
Great
perfect.
to hear.
Yeah. So Jens, did you write that?
Yeah, the main guitar part, the clean guitar part that starts and ends the song, that came from me. And I think we actually really struggled with this song because we wanted it to be more complex than it is. So we had to kind of, what can you say, surrender to what it turned out to be, and it just turned out to be, the right thing. And it was I think it's kind of hard for us to really trust in the more simpler stuff. Trust that it's gonna work. And introducing the blast beats, I remember that it was also something we had to allow ourselves to do for the same reasons that you mentioned, that sometimes blast beats can make it hard to really orient yourself rhythmically in the music.
Christian, you were gonna say?
Yeah, I agree with Jens. And it was a challenge because we had to keep ourselves in check with this song. And I think we took it as a challenge that we wanted to write a song that wasn't 7 or 8 minutes long and full of a million rhythmical changes and stuff like that, but just sticking to the melody and the atmosphere. And I think of course we're really happy about this song and how it turned out, but it was a challenge because we're used to writing something very different. And we showed the documentary a few weeks ago for the first time, and we played a show a week or two after that. And when we played Sincere, that show, I started crying while I was playing it because it's so intense, and there are lots of thoughts put into it. And I don't know what I want to say with this, but it was just such a great feeling, playing it live with my best friends and just letting go, just feeling the song, and
and knowing that some of the people out on stage, out in the room, they knew as well because they'd seen the documentary. We knew some of those people were there.
Yeah,
I felt like it was a stronger experience to play it live when you knew we have like the same how to say it, understanding of the story now.
Right.
That was very powerful.
Yeah.
I think when, as Jens mentioned, when we write music, I often come with like lots of long parts, maybe several minutes in a row, or an entire song structure, and I'm like, do whatever you feel like with this. I'll sit over here and wait. But Sincere was one of the few songs on To Exit the Maelstrom where I had like no part in the first part of writing. It was so melody based, and Jens made like these verse structures, and I felt really challenged to write something where I had no. I felt a bit powerless in a way, but also like it felt nice to just let go and trust the simple stuff, trust the things that just sounds good because it sounds good, and it felt right to play, and it has like a beauty in its when it's like that, and not too like thought through in a way.
Yeah, that's taken us many years to do that. So songwriting wise, it's a pretty huge step for us, I think.
Yes, I mean it's exactly so. When as you're all talking, I want to constantly interrupt you because I can't wait to tell you how I feel, but I have to say this, and I'm sorry, Jens, because you don't know me until today, but I'm very I'm very hyperbolic. I like to exaggerate how I feel about everything, but I have to say that I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. I think Sincere is one of the best songs ever written by anyone. And I get it. I'm just a guy living in a small town east of Seattle. I don't have any weight in the music business outside of my own fan base and whatnot. But it is as close to a perfect piece of music that you could get. So now I get that it's not necessarily indicative of the music business at large or what's currently trending or what's popular, a certain sound. There's nothing about it that fits into traditional categories. But what I love is it reminds me of opera, that there is such drama to it. It's introspective and thoughtful, sad, hopeful, devastating, actually, in its pain. And somehow, as you come through, there's this realization musically that it's all going to be okay, that this moment hurts like maybe no other. And yet, because of life, because of, you talk about, Christian, you talk about you and your brothers, your bandmates, the people that you love intimately, that you have each other, because that's what the human experience is about. And you guys, I'll use a big word here, but you encapsulate what I think most of us are thinking, and you've put your pain into music in a way that all of us, if we take the time to listen to it, will experience. We'll experience your life walk through these songs. And so if we never ever met or never talked again, I can say you've written something that is timeless, and I hope it really takes you guys to amazing places. You deserve it. Yeah.
Thank you. But I think it has already taken us to amazing places. I think the songwriting itself has done a tremendous thing for not only me and Andreas, but also for Mikkel and Jens. And I keep saying this to the guys, but of course I hope that I want to travel with the band. I want to get amazing reviews, and I want to expand the fan base. But I think writing the songs itself has helped me a lot, and no one can take that away from us.
No, and And Andreas, I have to say this because I mentioned Christian's blast beats earlier.
Yeah.
I'm also not a big fan of screaming. I get it. I'm a metal guy, and somehow I don't like screaming. But it's okay. I mean, it's okay. But it's the same thing. You found a way, and Sincere's again maybe the best example of this. You found a way to take all of that pain and anger and frustration and confusion and put it onto a recording. And so, I mean, because that is you screaming in the background, correct? During the choruses, right? Yeah. So that combination of Mikkel's gorgeous tenor and then your screaming just absolutely it just devastates me. I mean, I'm not even listening to the song right now, but it's devastating because it's so perfect. And it makes me mad that I didn't write that song. It makes me mad that I'm not the drummer in this band, because I would kill you, Christian, to be in this band. But seriously, you guys have done something so extraordinary and so lovely and so powerful that it just obviously it gets to me. But I'm so grateful because you guys have done the thing that you needed to do for your art. You needed to do to walk through what you've all experienced as a group the last few years. And the best part is not only have you made it, but you've done something so gorgeous that your musical legacy is going to be set. But the beauty is your family's legacy, the things that you guys have walked through. You've proven, you know what I mean? You've proven a beautiful thing, that your dad's life and that the lives of all these people around us, it matters so much. And we couldn't have had it without them.
Yeah, I think, first of all, thank you.
Yeah. As I wipe my tears, everybody's listening like, what? But I don't know why, but it
means so much to us. And I think that was the goal for me, at least, because I also say that in the documentary, but me and Andreas, we were having such a difficult time, and I thought, I can keep all of this pain to myself, or I can try and channel it out and make art of it, and maybe I can make the world a better place through art. Maybe people who don't know me or haven't experienced the same things as me, maybe they can benefit from it in a way. They don't have to necessarily understand everything and know the details about my life and my story, but maybe if they can take this and enjoy it for what it is, or maybe take their own story and put it into it, then I feel like then we've done something with all this negativity. Because that was a decision we had to make. We had to make at some point, if we wanted to keep all of this to ourselves or try to make something out of it.
Transparency is everything in art. I think when you finally step into who you really are, and you are now, in the past there were hints of where Feather Mountain was going. You could definitely see that. I mean, I sense that in passing as an example. It's clear that you have a muse, the illness in your family's life and the things that have occurred have been weirdly an incredible opportunity to write about these things. But it doesn't change the fact that what we need as listeners is we need to know that you're telling the truth. I know that's a strange thing because it shouldn't be required, but this kind of music requires unfettered truth. It requires you to believe in it. And it's very clear in all the material I've heard that you absolutely mean what you're saying and you mean what you're feeling.
We've always meant what we're feeling, but I think on this album, we're better at expressing it and saying it. I think before it was the feelings were there, but maybe harder to
More symbolic,
or
maybe.
write. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can leave symbolism to the videos, right?
Right.
I mean, if I may, and again, I'm sort of hesitant to talk about this just because I want to honor, obviously privacy and things, but I also want to. I guess what I want to know is how much are you willing to share about the family story? I mean, like how much of your experiences over the last 12 to 18 months are woven into this album? Is it all about what you guys have gone through as a foursome?
I think Christian and I have been talking about, are there any limits to the transparency? And we could only agree on one thing, as far as I remember, that we thought would be unnecessary to share. It didn't benefit the story in a way because it wasn't necessary. It was just too much. There were other ways to tell this. It's hard to explain when you can't talk about it, but we were like, you don't have to explain all the details. You can just tell that it was very ugly. The way we discovered about our father's illness, it was ugly. No more is needed to be said, because that is, I think that's personal. We have to protect him as well in a way, but for the rest of the story, I think we have a need to tell about it. Now I feel like I'm going backwards a little bit, but
it's okay.
Sometimes I can be very picky about stuff and like set my mind onto something that I want to achieve with the band or with the music or with my life in general. And sometimes Christian, or actually the entire band, can be the voices of reason that tell me, chill, dude. We just right now we just work our asses off and things will come. We don't have to get everything in one row in one day. And I was talking with Christian about my desires for how far we should go with this album, or how much I needed people to understand this and to appreciate it, because it's so personal, and like I feel like we've been putting so much of ourselves into it. Then Christian was like, we've already achieved what we set up to do, and that was getting better as musicians, but also as people, and like started healing. I mean, whatever some reviewer write about the music, that won't take away the fact that I'm like not in need of therapy anymore.
Right.
Because I wrote this album and have been like dealing with this shit through the music and with my bandmates, also with a therapist, but I think I needed both to cope, for it to make sense, or have it in a way. And I couldn't do that without the band. So in a way, we already achieved the most important stuff, which is like write something that has meaning and that makes us feel better as people.
Yes, but to answer your question, Rob, I mean, you can ask us anything.
Well, I already have. But I mean, I understand. I understand, and I understand what Andreas was talking about as well. I mean, just understanding that there are limits, because it is true. For example, my father passed away a number of years ago from cancer, and when he did, I sat down and interviewed him. It was one of the most intense and awful things I've ever had to do. And I didn't tell him I was interviewing him. I actually had a recorder going the whole time. And I listened to it a couple years ago. And it's just sad, because I realize here's this guy who's 76 years old, not even that old. And Mostly I say that because I'm 56. but you know, at the time he was 76 when, you know, he was a couple weeks from passing away, and it was the last time I saw him. And so I just talked to him. I asked him all the things I always wanted to ask him, good and bad. And yeah, we ended up talking about really, really awful things. But there, I don't really know where I'm going with this outside of to say that I think there's a beauty in just sharing that this is all part of a process that we all experience. And the more we are open and transparent to share not just our experiences, but to try to bring an audience in with us, the more we serve ourselves, as Andreas had mentioned, and the more that we ultimately serve the people, because it still is about the people. If you don't have an audience, there's almost no reason. And I know that sounds like a consumer point of view, but I mean, I think it's important as musicians to have it, to put it out there. But we all know that what we desire is to serve that listening audience, so they come to us and experience our world with us as we start experiencing theirs when they bring them to. Does any of this make sense?
Sure.
It does.
It's also super weird. Just I remember when we released Sincere, I talked with Christian about how it's such a hollow feeling when it was out there, because we've been in the process so ingrained for I don't know, like 2 or 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
So when it was out, it was like really weird, but I think I realized later it's just the start of another process, because now we had to figure it out. How do we want to play this music live? What experience do we want people to have live?
Yeah.
By making a set list and so forth. So yeah, it's crazy.
I don't want to keep pounding on the family thing. I'd like to get away from it, but I do want to say one more thing, is that, you know, when we are doing what we're doing, like me right now speaking to you guys, or you guys writing songs, we're sort of living in our best way. We're being who we're meant to be. And without these experiences, good and bad, the obvious stuff, right? We can't be who we are. And the beauty of this, without getting religious, because I don't want to be religious, is that if our lives mean something, and I believe they mean absolutely something, that you are purely you, each of you are purely you, and then that combination of taking those 4 pure, lovely musicians, kind humans, and stick them together, you make something all the more potent. These are beautiful things for families to look to back at. Like you mentioned your father a little while ago, and saying, yeah, I'm in this place and I'm ill, but look at what my sons are doing. Look what they're doing as a collective, you know? And so I can't stop bragging about you guys, but I'm so just happy that you are who you are, because I think it is a matter of time. I think what you said a second ago is you've made gorgeous music, and now you just get to be these people, and that's enough. Just soak in it. It's like a bathtub full of peaches and heavy cream. It's just a perfect thing. Are you open to talking about the what the video means? I feel like I've got it wired personally, but I know your guys' backstory. So when I watch it, it hits me in a different way. So do you mind sharing a little bit for the fan, the casual listener who's just discovering Feather Mountain today? Do you mind telling a little bit about the video and the story behind it?
Okay, this might take a while, or a little while at least. Well, the entire album is a concept album about the family story for Christian and I, with our father who got diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in the late summer or fall in 2020. And as we spoke of before, we discovered it in an awful way. we would have wished that we knew earlier on, but we didn't. When it happened, there was no doubt that something was really, really wrong with him, and he needed help. But we have been like diving deep into this dementia world of sorts, or like losing someone you love, but he's still there. It's like this awful combination that you can't let go, but you have to. And in a way, it all felt so surreal, because depending on the day, how he felt and how we felt, it was like a different world. Each day was a different world. And when we spoke with Jens and Mikkel about it, it was a weird time. And I have two friends from a sort of boarding school that I went to when I was 16 years old, and they helped us with the In Passing music video. Una and Line, like super awesome people and really talented with the making of videos and like this creative arty stuff. And we talked with them about this, and they did like these. Now I'm thinking of the old In Passing video, but I don't really remember how we got there. But we just Christian knows.
Yeah. I mean, we were doing a brainstorm, and as Andreas said, it was like a different world or a different person. You know, every time we talked with our father or when we met with him, sometimes it could be like his old self, and suddenly it could change, and he could be very aggressive or very forgetful or very childish and all of this. And I was, I don't know what it's called in English, but there's this Japanese cartoon. It's called Chihiro and Heksene in Danish. Do you guys know what it's called in English?
It's Spirited Away, I think.
Yeah, Spirited Away. And in Spirited Away, the main character, she's trapped in a spirit world where everything is, it kind of makes sense, but everything is also very weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really good metaphor for the dementia. For the person, but also for the family.
Mm-hmm.
That it looks like my father, but it's not him anymore. And we were talking with the girls about maybe we could do a video with a spirit world. That was like this this thing that you get trapped in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that you just dive into it, and it sort of has its own rules, its own people. You don't know them; they're just there doing their stuff. Like in this movie, there's this chaotic world with its own rules and orders and stories, and you just have to go with it, because everything seems dangerous or weird, but it makes sense in a way. And we thought that was a way to translate our experiences, because we felt like nothing makes sense anymore. But we were pretty sure that he felt the same way. Like we were both going into another world. And we wanted to show that like this strangeness, which is really scary, but you can sort of like read the feelings in the masks and the people that you encounter.
Very much.
But you don't understand what they're up to. And we think that might be how our father feels often.
Yeah. Yeah. The video captures the confusion and the anger and the fear so well. Oh God, it's so hard to talk about, man. I don't know why it affects me so much. I mean, it's not my walk, but what I love about the video, normally I'm hesitant to talk about videos because, I mean, we're here to talk about the art in general, right? The music. what created it, what started it all in the first place. But the moment when everybody bows just kills me, because I miss my own dad, and I feel so sorry for you guys going through this. And I know, I feel like he's a band dad, you know what I mean? I can tell that Mikkel and Jens are affected by it too. It's not just, your story, but it's the band story. But in my sadness in it, in the sense of what I experience, I have to tell you that it's such a gorgeous, lovely thing. Like, there's just so much hope at the end, that even though it's sad and lonely, and in a sense the character is lost in the woods, but there's a moment, and I think it's the music. So good job, Jens. Because the resolution with the strings after the last chorus before the outro is so mind-blowingly phenomenal musically. It is such a perfect musical moment. It reminds me of the end of A Woman in Chains by Tears for Fears, where it finally resolves. It stayed outside of resolution the entire song, and then it finally resolves, and when it happens, it crushes you because you realize what's occurred musically and thematically. So holy shit, guys, it's really good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, it's not all darkness. There's also hope. There's lots of hope, and not only in Sincere, but on the rest of the album as well. I mean, we really, it's so typical us. We want to be Feather Mountain. We want to have light and darkness and hope and despair and all of it.
Yeah.
But it's also part of the story, because even though it's tragic, and Andreas and I, we miss our father, it's still, it's not all bad. I mean, he is more lighthearted than he used to be. He is in a way, he's funnier than he used to be, and
childlike, right?
He's more childlike, and he's more, it's easy to forgive him when he does silly things, because he can't really, he can't help it. He's gotten better at apologizing, and he's gotten better at telling us that he's proud of us. And I mean, it's like his armor has melted in a way, if that makes sense.
It does.
So it's not all bad, even though of course I want him to, be healthy and be himself. But we wanted to translate that into the music as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all of this talking about him today. I would like to talk a little bit about the album if I can before I let you go. And thanks again for being so personal and so open to this, because I know these are tough things. Is the album coming out in September? Is that kind of what I had heard, Jens?
Yeah. The 2nd of September.
Okay. So, how many tracks on it? Is 7 or 8, something like that? You got a lot of extra meat on this one, it seems.
Yes, let me check since I always forget. 8 tracks.
Yeah. Okay, so then thematically, because we've been talking about the family and the crisis and the health and all these things. Where do you go from here? I mean, because I don't want to look. I'm not saying that you've recorded this album and we're done with that, right? Like, that's the past, because that past is part of your future. It's always going to be sort of in there, the DNA of the experiences you've gone through as a group. But thematically, where does Feather Mountain go from here? Because I mean, you started out pretty intense. I don't know how you fix that without either getting deeper and darker, or you just disappoint people because of like, what happened to my super intense band?
We've been talking about that.
Yeah, it's a
How
good question.
do we move on from here? Shit, man. We have some different ideas. We think it's nice to have some to make boundaries in a way, or it's like something to work from. It doesn't have to be a theme for an entire album next time as well. But since we spoke last time, I've become a father myself.
Yeah.
Congratulations!
Congratulations! I was hesitant to talk about that, but I did know. So congrats again. Yeah.
And I know Christian has been talking a lot about. You think we should make music about whatever needs our attention in life, and it would be really powerful and beautiful if we were able to take something like a good thing for once, and write powerful music about that as well, like becoming a parent and how that changes your life, and how scared you are, and how frustrated you are, and how deeply in love with this little monster you are. So maybe that could be a song, but yeah, it's a bit abstract.
Maybe not. I mean, I like the idea of the darkness and lightness meeting in a different way, right? Like, I mean, I've never heard angry songs written about kids. so why not write a dissonant piece about how much you love your little kid? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of strange. Are any else? Excuse me. How do I say this? Does anybody else have kids besides Andreas?
No.
Okay, I didn't think.
I just got a dog, which might be
pretty close to
in a similar vein.
Yeah. So Mikkel, so who writes the lyrics? Is that your job, Mikkel?
Yeah, it's mainly my job.
Okay.
Andreas has some lyrics as well throughout the album.
Right.
But they go through me at the end.
Gotcha. So in a sense, the band creates the soundscape, and then you collaboratively, for the most part, but you come up with your own ideas, and then the band talks about them, and then you figure out the melodies and the harmonies and how it sort of fits within the rhythmic parameters, right?
Yeah, I like to end with the melodies. And the lyrics, and I usually get help from Jens with the harmonies and chord arrangements and stuff. But it's all through talks. Usually, we try to agree on what does this sound like, what should this represent. So
yeah. That's it's incredible stuff, Jens.
Yeah. Just like to add that. We also kind of learned in this process that it's also a lot easier to write the instrumentals when we know what we're writing about. So it's not like we write an entire song and then Mikkel adds a theme on top. I mean, we already kind of know what the theme is while we're working on the song, and that shapes a lot of the decisions we make in the songwriting. That we know if this is what kind of feeling we want to convey, and then Mikkel. I mean, just like we interpret the thematic and turn it into instrumentals, then Mikkel interpret the thematic and turns it into lyrics.
Christian?
Yeah, I mean, you know what Jens is saying. When I talk to people that don't play an instrument or don't play in a band, I usually tell them that this time it was like the songs they wrote themselves, and the last time we had to think a lot. But this time, when we had these very clear pictures that we wanted to write music about, then I didn't really have to think that much about how hard am I going to hit, what surfaces on the drum kit am I going to hit, it's going to be triplets or straight, all that kind of those things. I mean, when I had the feeling and a very clear picture in my mind, then it almost wrote itself, and then it made it so much easier. So I think we're definitely gonna keep doing that, and when we write songs about things that really matter to us, then I think now, full circle, we're back at the, being true to our feelings and being true to the story, and I think that people can hear that as well.
Yes, yeah. I think if you let down your guard, which you've done. You were starting to do it, the last album was Nidus, right? That was the name of the album. In passing was on Nidus. Is that correct? Not in between. Okay. So yeah, the last album sounds like a band finding its footing, finding its place within the genre, within itself, right? How we write music as a band and as a collective, how do we create this sound that sounds like Feather Mountain, whatever, right? You're trying to figure it out. What's changed is the emotion has become, instead of saying this song makes me feel like this, you're saying this is how I feel, which is not the same thing. And so all of a sudden, as an example, when Mikkel is singing these words, we feel those words versus we hear those words. And right, so thematically, the music works because you finally are telling the truth. And I understand why you would have been cautious about telling the truth before, because it's, as Andreas has said a million times, it's such a deeply personal thing. And that the band and its, sort of immediate family has experienced. But now that you're sort of over that hump, everybody's able to just let the music, encompass them, right? Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah. I agree.
Am I just talking a lot?
Christian and I, we were super scared, at several points in the writing process. And maybe not in the writing process, but when we started recording and when it was like, this is how it's gonna be. Mm-hmm. We have to. This is not just an idea anymore. This is something that we're gonna release at some point, and it's gonna have its own life. We talked with someone. She's also a musician and makes a lot of great art. And we were like, not having second thoughts, but we were very worried about our own responsibility in this process. Mm-hmm. Is this wrong to be doing? Like, should we keep it to ourselves in respect for our father? And she was like, if you're an artist, you have a responsibility to do this. This is not just about you. This is about translating something that's super important for other people as well. Mm-hmm. They might not know it until they hear it, but it will be important. And I was like, okay, that's super relieving to hear that from that perspective, because you talked about being the person, like living to the fully, or like being the person that you really are, and it felt like we can either have this armor, like Christian said before, or we can just let go and do what feels right and true, and then something great will spawn from that. And I'm really happy that we did that in the end.
Yeah. Well, you've overcome. I mean, I think if anything, this album is an example of overcoming. And you're still in the middle of it. And I mean this as a band. But the beauty is, it's very clear to me that the four guys I'm looking at genuinely, have affection for each other. You're not just in a band to, achieve some sort of childhood dream, or to, to get rich or get famous or get girls or get which is what a lot of people, they jump in the business for the wrong reasons. I mean, it's a business, yes, but you're really in it for the joy of what being an artist and a creative means, and you just happen to be filtering it through some pretty brutal things, but it's it's amazing because it's honest. And so if there's any theme to me about what you guys do, it's you're the kindest, most lovely musicians I've met, and it's because you've put it out there and you overcome so much, and you've done it in front of us, and you let us enjoy who you are and what you've created when we don't have the right to be there, but you've let us be there anyway.